Today I'm going to show you how to glue a wood veneer down to a substrate using contact cement. And we're going to use a paperback veneer. The front side of the paperback veneer is real wood and the back side is a paper backer. So we're going to start out here with a substrate that we're going to glue it to using a contact cement. This is a solvent-based contact cement, and I like them better than the water-based because I think they stick better. Anyway, you don't have to be perfect at getting this on here, but you want to get your coat of the contact cement reasonably uniform, and particularly if you're using a paperback veneer, realize it's thin and it will telegraph through if you have lumps and bumps and problems and you don't get a nice uniform coat. Well, it could show through. So I'm going to use a brush. You could use a roller. Sometimes you use a wide bladed putty knife. Depends on your own preference and how big the area is. I'm going to set this aside now because you're going to let that dry. Now, after that first coat is dried, you come back and you put a second coat on using the same, give it some nice good brush strokes. Now I'm not putting any contact cement on in this video to the actual paperback veneer because the technique's the same. You're going to put two coats on it as well, and you can put two coats on your substrate. So you'd have to bear in mind you got to put a coat on each time you put a coat on a substrate. You got to put a coat on that paperback veneer. Now you put this over to the side. You've got your coat of contact cement on your veneer as well, and once they've dried, usually takes a half hour or so. Once they've dried, it's time to put them together. So what you do, here's your substrate. Now it's nice and dry. This is your veneer. It's the wooden side here. It is a real wood. It finishes like a real wood and stains like a real wood and sands like a real wood. This is the back side. The paperback is showing here with two coats of contact cement on there that have dried. So you got a dry surface here, you got a dry surface here, two coats. You can place this on here pretty much centered if you can. And then the trick is you have to apply pressure. I like to use a roller for that, and you can use a wallpaper seam roller, or you can use one of these rollers here. It's called an ink bray roller, which is available at Hobby Lobby for about $6. You can use a wallpaper seam roller. It's a wooden roller. It's about 1 inch wide. The idea is you want to get pressure everywhere, particularly pay attention to the edges. If you're going to have a problem, it's going to show up on the edges. So you get pressure, and really I'm not putting as much pressure as I'd like to. You can stand up and bear down real hard. You can use a blunt piece of wood as well. The idea is you're going to roll this real nice and get all of that glue bonded together, because contact cement bonds upon contact. Now, if you're using a 2 inch wide roller, and let's say you're pushing down with 100 pounds, you're going to get 50 pounds on each inch of that roller. Now, if you use a 1 inch roller, all 100 pounds will go into that 1 inch area. Some people say, well, I might use a rolling pin and it's 10 inches wide, and guess what? Well, 10 inches wide, 100 pounds down, that's only 10 pounds per inch of surface. So narrower is better. I really like 1 inch better than 2 inch, but this 2 inch roller seems to be working real well, so I'm just fine with it. Once you get it stuck down the way you want and rolled down and everything is nice and tight and good, then you take a razor knife. You can do it. You can also use a router with the correct bit on it, and you trim around the edges to get a perfect fit. If you're not perfect, not to worry. You can always chamfer it, sand it a little bit, and make it blend in. Now, you're going to ask me, what if I have an inset panel? If you have an inset panel, you're going to have to be just better at what you do, and then you're going to have line that veneer up with the substrate and put it into the panel perfectly the first time. So here we are. We have our veneered panel. It's really nice. Remember that contact cement can be attacked by a finish that seeps through. Now, varnishes don't attack contact cements, neither do shellacs, neither do shellacs don't. Lacquers will, and the lacquer thinner is one of the worst offenders to attack the glue underneath. If you're using a paper-backed veneer, and if you use a lacquer, the lacquer thinner can seep through and attack that contact cement. If you're using a wood-backed veneer, then the lacquer thinner doesn't really ever penetrate through because it's thicker and it can't get through there. Just bear in mind, don't use lacquers if you use contact cement in a paper-backed veneer. That's today's lesson.